Hello again. It's been quite a while since I made a video. What I want to talk about is a little bit about some spray paint gotchas that are subtle, and I'm wondering how many people out there don't even realize that their spray paint is being weird or causing them subtle problems. Pretty much every project I've done in painting miniatures I've made some error that I wasn't aware of because nobody was talking about it. After I would spray paint my primer on, start putting my paint on, the paint was kind of sliding around the miniature. Also, my miniatures were staying tacky after a month of curing. If you are using off-the-shelf primer like Rust-Oleum or Krylon primers, they have acetone in them. What has happened to me is that the acetone from the primer hits the model, and that's fine, and then it hits other kinds of plastics that are around the model and eats into the plastic and causes that plastic or vinyl to off-gas particles of itself that then rest up on the model, and the two plastic-like things don't get along. Not a chemist. From now on, I'm only priming on wood. I have wood slats, 1x2 slats, and big oversized paint sticks are really good. They're like an 1/8 inch thick. I'm only priming plastic models on wood, and then leaving them on the wood until they properly cure. Actually read your primer, because a lot of primers that say that they are able to be used on plastic also specifically say that it takes longer for the paint to cure properly, usually 7 days. When I was looking at how to do this stuff, it was like prime your model, and sometimes people would be like wait overnight. Sometimes people would be like wait 20 minutes and then start painting. I started painting models on Gatorade lids and or sports drinks lids and protein shake lids, which is awesome. I love this because I have like a bag of 50 of these by now with different sizes, and that way every one of my models can have its own little holdy thing while I paint, and they can stay on this with a little bit of poster tack until I'm done. Now, so once I started doing this, I was like, oh wow, I could just start priming on this, and that'd be awesome because I could really like get in there. Now, if I had an airbrush with acrylic primer, it'd probably be fine. But acetone, so acetone primer comes down, hits the model, hit the lids off-gassed on the model, and then they all had this like glossy. You could only see it when I would start to put the paint down. The paint would pool, it would bead like water on a windshield. And so I'd have to like really struggle to get a base layer down, and it would work eventually. But then, like I said, if I just touched it with my fingernail while I was painting, the paint would come right off. And I confirmed this for myself when I was doing this Ogroid Thermitage from Silver Tower, because I sprayed this guy on a Gatorade lid as well. And I noticed I was painting sort of from the top down, and the paint was taking just great. And then once I got specifically like under the tail, under his arse, the bottom sides, they're all had that glossy beading effect. So no more Gatorade lids. Then I moved to putting them on wood, and then I would use a vinyl glove because I just have disposable ones available to me. So I'd hold the wood piece so that I could still like pivot around, and then I was like, damn it, I did it again, because then the acetone would hit the glove, and I would notice that the glove was slowly melting while I was doing the models, or the glove would start to stick. So I realized that even if I couldn't see it, that the glove was actually breaking down, and vinyl material was off-gassing and sticking to the surfaces of the models. And like one time I touched part of the model on accident, and then I noticed when I was spray painting it, it just like wasn't taking the spray paint well. I'm wondering if these sports drink lids might also be vinyl based, because I know that they're not recyclable like the bottle is. You're not supposed to recycle these, so I'm just curious, but I don't know, and I haven't looked it up. It doesn't really matter to me because I'm not going to do that anymore. Then I remember way back my first painting job, I couldn't get it to cure. And I couldn't figure it out because I actually sprayed, that was my Hero Quest models. I sprayed them on cardboard. It took me a while, but I realized that that cardboard had cellophane tape or packing tape on it. The plastic see-through packing tape. There were some strips on the cardboard. So when the acetone-based primer hit the cardboard, just along that strip was off-gassing some plastic byproduct and got into the paint of those models, and they're tacky still. That was 3-4 years ago. So they still, if I hold them in my fingers and press, they'll kind of stick to my fingers. Plus I've had to do some touch-ups because they have scraped off. My point is, like, I've even tried to avoid this issue and I've still accidentally come across it. Now another thing, going back to cure times for acetone-based primers, the can says about 7 days typically, and a couple of times I've rushed by I sprayed them on wood, I brought them inside, I let them sit out, I let them off gas for maybe 48 hours, and then I put them inside of a Sterilite bin with the lid on it, but like cracked, and I'm not gonna do that anymore because it's just hurts too bad to find that you're in the middle of a paint job and you're like, the paint's not really taking like it should. I finally know how it should take because I finally got a couple of models painted that there was no plastic around. So hopefully I will avoid that problem from now on. So no, don't put your minis into plastic until they've cured. After the acetone-based primer has completely off-gassed and I put them on my Gatorade lids and I've started to paint acrylic on them, putting them in here to keep the dust from setting on them has been really good. And I'm even a little bit worried about the poster tack because it's plasticky. If the spray paint hits it, I hope it doesn't off gas, but usually it's hidden. I try and hide it underneath the base of the model while I'm spray painting them on sticks. So now it's bonus time. For one, I finally got a new light. This was $20 on Amazon and I love it. It's been worth every penny. The thing is, you can pay $20, you can pay $100 for a light like this, but if you don't roughhouse it, it's great. The main part is plastic, and if I ever snap this part, it's done. But I've already gotten 100, 200 hours out of it. So what I really like about this is it can go above my head and then point slightly away from my eyes, so like the light really falls right in front of it doesn't put glare in my eyes, and I can hold the model like right here. This thing has been awesome, worth every penny. Maybe I'll try and link to the one I bought. I recommend the one with the metal clamp because I already saw that the plastic clamp breaks. And another thing I want to talk about is just to reiterate, I've mentioned before, I cover my wet palette or your whatever palette. When I'm done with it, I just take one of these extra lids I have and lay it over the top because, man, fibers in the air, just tiny little fibers are everywhere in our clothes and our carpet. Even after covering my palette, you're in the middle of a paint job, or I'm in the middle of a paint job, I put hours into it, I'm thinning my paint, making it smooth, going along, and I come back to do another coat, and I'm like, what is this little like thing in my paint on this like really smooth skin? There's like a little tiny little fiber or looks like a tiny little grain of sand. That is from stuff floating in the air and coming to rest inside my water bin and on the surface of my wet palette. So I'm going to try and start changing out my wet palette, the paper, more often. Because, God, that's just annoying. So just watch out for that. And hopefully I'll make another video. I really want to show some proper, how I learned how to spray paint. I know sometimes I see other people's spray paint jobs and I'm like, that looks really bad. There was a new, on Warhammer TV, they're doing this like beginner series and they're like, how to spray paint. And I couldn't believe it. That's just me. But like having your mini and just doing bursts like this on the nozzle, paint builds up. Every time you hit the nozzle again, grabs whatever's sitting on the surface and just throws it onto whatever you're painting. So typically when you spray paint, you want to start your stream away from your subject and hold it down and then bring it across. So every time the nozzle spits, it spits over here and then you bring it across your model like that. But same thing would go with an airbrush. You'd start your stream over here and you would do this, I would think. But anyway, what do I know? Thanks for watching. Sorry if this was a little bit rambly, but like I said, it was really, I don't know the right words. Thanks for watching.